Today I want to talk about ulcerative colitis. There are millions of people living with this across the world. And the sad part is a lot of people think that they have to live with it. Either there's an immunosuppressant or a steroid. When you have a flare-up, that gives you relief. But even when you Google it, I Googled it this morning, and it says, oh, this is not curable, it's incurable, there's nothing you can do. Medicine is great for us. The medical world is great for us. But just because there isn't a medicine to treat it, doesn't mean that there isn't anything that can help you get better if you have ulcerative colitis. We've had hundreds and hundreds of patients, young boys, young girls, teenagers, adults, senior citizens with ulcerative colitis, and most of them are better today. Why? We don't have any magic. We just reset the body. When you understand how a disease works in your body, and then you decide to address the root cause of it, guess what? You will have results. But just because the only thing that works in the medical world is an immunosuppressant or a steroid, it doesn't mean that you cannot get better. We need to understand what is ulcerative colitis. Some people call it an autoimmune condition, which in some cases we do see it work that way. Your own immune system is attacking certain blood cells in your body, and ulcerative colitis is basically in your colon, your large intestine. There's inflammation on the internal walls of your large colon. There is inflammation in the lining of your large colon. And that's why you have symptoms like abdominal pain, rectal pain, blood in your stools, constant bleeding when you're passing a motion. You have other symptoms like the inability to digest food. You could eat certain foods, now you can't. Then you have weight loss. Obviously, you lose a lot of weight when you have this, and you have shooting pains that go through your gut, your lower abdomen, and sometimes in your pelvic area as well. These are some of the symptoms that you have in ulcerative colitis. Now, it's also called IBD, which is inflammatory bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease. So exactly, inflammation is the cause. Now, that's why a steroid works for you. That's why an immunosuppressant works for you. What is an immunosuppressant? It suppresses your immune system when your immune system is overactive. So your immune system is attacking you. Your doctor rightly puts you onto a steroid or an immunosuppressant. So your immune system is now suppressed, and your symptoms, your pain and the blood in your stool disappears. But as you know, you can't always be on an immunosuppressant or a steroid for a lifetime. And that's why you got to address the root cause of the problem. Now, do not confuse IBD, which is inflammatory bowel disease, with IBS. They're completely different. IBS is irritable bowel syndrome. You can have IBS when you're nervous, when you're anxious, when you're eating the wrong foods, maybe too spicy, too much fiber, too little fiber, your diet's wrong, you're sleep deprived, you're stressed out. That's IBS. A lot of people come to us and say, hey, Luke, is Crohn's the same as ulcerative colitis? And there's a difference in that. Crohn's can affect any part of your entire GI tract, but your ulcerative colitis is only your large intestine, your colon. So there's a big difference between that, although Crohn's is also another condition that can easily be put into remission. But today we're going to talk about only IBS. So the lower part of your colon, the inner walls get inflamed. There's inflammation, there's irritation. That's why you have blood in your stools. Now, over the years, if you've had chronic constipation, it can cause ulcerative colitis because you're keeping a stool inside too long. What do you think happens in the body when you keep a stool in too long? Okay, not only will you have problems with your microbiome, but you'll have extreme inflammation. You can also have polyps in your colon and a whole load of other issues. So the first step is to look at your bowel movement. Do you have loose motions continuously, or do you have constipation? And start to fix that. Now, there are some trigger foods which you need to remove from your diet as you're healing. Now, if you're celiac, for example, which means you can never have wheat again, or if you're lactose intolerant, you've done your test, you know you can't have those foods, then eating those foods will be potentially dangerous for you. They will lead to flare-ups, extreme pain, and blood in your stools. But let's say you're not intolerant towards these foods, but they still cause a problem. It's because your inner lining of your gut is weaker. And as you make your gut stronger over time, you may be able to reintroduce these foods back into your diet. Now, refined foods, if you're having refined white flour, refined sugar, any refined, highly processed, ultra-processed food will lead to an aggravation of your ulcerative colitis. That is why we need to minimize it or stop it and introduce whole grains while you're in the process of repairing it. So some of the trigger foods are gluten, lactose, cruciferous vegetables, your broccoli, your kale, your radish, your cabbage, your cauliflower. Now, it doesn't have to be for everyone. Everyone's different. I have ulcerative colitis patients who can eat these foods. And some of them, the moment they touch it, literally have a little bit of it, they have a flare up. Everybody's different, and that's why you need to always break it down. Try to identify which foods suit you, which don't. Then you have nuts and seeds. Some of the nut family may suit you, some may not. Some people do good with peanuts, some people don't do well on peanuts. Some people have to stop almonds, some people can eat walnuts. Then we have beans, your legumes. So things like rajma, chana, your garbanzo beans, your navy beans, your black-eyed beans, your lobia, all of that. Some may suit you, some may not because of the high fiber in it. And if it's not soaked well, if it's not pressure cooked well with hing or asafoetida, it could put more overload on your colon, leading to more gas and more discomfort. So it's really different for everyone. But the important point to understand is just don't stop all the foods. Maybe you want to stop them and reintroduce one at a time. High fat foods, if you're having bakery products, tempuras, deep fried foods all the time, that's going to aggravate your ulcerative colitis. Remember, you first want to identify and then you want to rebuild. And once you rebuilt, maybe you can introduce these foods one at a time if they're good for you. Sugar and refined foods will aggravate colitis. Now, when it comes to fiber, there's a mix of it. Fiber can be very, very regenerative for ulcerative colitis. There are two kinds of fiber. You have soluble and you have insoluble. But again, it's different for everyone. Some patients do so well on fiber and some patients react to fiber, which means we've got to reduce it and slowly over time reintroduce a little more of soluble and insoluble fiber. Too many raw vegetables may actually aggravate your ulcerative colitis, and of course, too much of tea, coffee, and spices. Everyone's different. Some people stop coffee for 2 to 3 weeks and their recovery is fantastic. Some people minimize it and they also have recovery. Some people are forced to stop it, depending on how severe ulcerative colitis is. Now, if you have any of these symptoms, you want to get them checked up, your doctor will either do a colonoscopy, an endoscopy, a simple stool test, a blood test, depending on your symptoms, but do not ignore these symptoms because ulcerative colitis ignored can become a colorectal cancer. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of your health and you're going to your doctor at the right time. Now, when it comes to healing, there's a lot that you can do. How have we got our patients to remission? By changing their entire lifestyle. Number 1, removing trigger foods. Number 2, adding foods that can help you. You have boswellia, you have turmeric, you have psyllium husk, you have ginseng, you have bromelain, which is an extract of pineapple. You have licorice, if it suits you and you don't have high blood pressure, fluid retention. You have walnuts, you have omega-3s for vegetarians and non-vegetarians, and you have aloe vera. Over and above these, there are many, many foods which you can slowly use to build the gut. The idea is to build the gut, the microbiome, and reduce inflammation, which is why all of our patients will be put onto an anti-inflammatory protocol. The use of probiotics and prebiotics will also be used the right way, from natural foods or supplementation as and when required. We also put our patients on easy exercise programs, swimming, walking, getting a little bit of cardio, and even light weightlifting or light body weight challenges, because you challenge muscle. Muscle is your endocrine system of the body. Hormones are chemical communicators that come across the body. There is a direct connection between acute stress levels and your symptoms of ulcerative colitis. That's why we also need to work with our stress levels. We need to sleep deeply, work with our emotional health, look at our exercise and our nutrition. So can the colon walls be rebuilt? Absolutely yes. And as you rebuild them and you move from more inflammation to less inflammation, your ulcerative colitis goes into remission. So it is 100% possible. You just need to have the right knowledge, you need to believe, and you got to be willing to commit to action. Have a great day, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, breathe deep, and remember, you care is all about you.